Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 17. Veins intertwined throughout his body so that they came alive. His horns began forcing their needles through all at once. The pressure of its pinch prickling in was the first sensation, quickly followed by the fever swelling with it. The sensation shot through his body with a vicious pulse that throbbed straight into his chest. There's something wrong with you, Arden Adler. Arden gasped inwardly, his eyes sharply popping open. It was the first time while he had been fully asleep, only to be tugged awake like that. The pain seemed to fade like a memory once he was alert, only the heat lingering in his chest. Shock was replaced by a creeping fear. Something was watching. He sat up straight, despite his reclined chair, his eyes searching for a culprit in the dark. From chair to chair his gaze darted to, questioning who was asleep, who was faking it. Arden stood up, dropping his eyes before placing a hand over his gasping chest, almost physically feeling the heat that seemed to burn there, hardly able to pant by his mouth. He tried to swallow down the feeling, but it only served to make his dry throat sting. Arden hurried after that car, off into the halls. Arden's own strained gasp, but more voice in Arden's ears from the fading snores of sleepy passengers, felt the bumping of the train chugging across the tracks. It was almost dark now, save for the few soft orange-hued lights still on. Have you lost your faith? That's all your brother has to cling to. Arden stumbled, his walk slowing to a halt, pupils dilating in the dark. The hand on his chest suddenly became a grip. Jagged nails felt through the fabric. The number is 5, Arden. You know who succeeds here when you lay your eyes on them. It was his voice. He recognized it immediately, but somehow it sounded different. He couldn't be bothered with the details. Jazia! Harris' whisper came up frantic. He felt so alone, clueless, doubting himself. The spirit's whispers of all the murky decisions he made that night, down to the last swing, left him in a limbo of regret and triumph. He had no one to talk to in the physical, no one to cling to, no one he could share this burden with. It was only getting heavier. Please, speak to me. How much longer do I have left? Where am I supposed to go? I had a question. His feet seemed to move on their own, his body too pent up to sit still. It was practically vibrating. Was it relief? Excitement for some type of closure? Those never-ending questions. Or fear. The doubts he voiced on paper. He never truly confirmed how much of himself Josiah had access to. What could he be thinking of his apprehension? Josiah? Josiah! Arden's whispers fell into the silence of the train. Once again, he was alone. The sweat he'd woken up with was drying to his skin. He felt just as empty as before. He wanted to scream. He was on a dripper of information, but thirsting for more. Arden couldn't think of going back to his cart and just falling back asleep. He had to write down what little he got into his journal. His shoes patted the floor, wandering from cart to cart. Glimpses of the moonshine washing over him as he passed windows. He wanted his belief in Josiah to mean something, to be able to return the dead back to their peaceful respite, to bring his brother back, whose life was, in a way, just beginning. He wanted his stabbing to be an act of righteousness, fixing what he'd done, and repairing what errors lasted from something he wasn't even a part of. That little speck of doubt, that piece in him that told him not to do it, the hurt he felt during the act, the harrowing frigidness he felt after he'd done it, it kept growing. The back of his head, slow and sure, it was there. He could prune at it any way he liked, but it would always go back. Yara's end didn't sit right with him. What right does a human have to play Reaper? Arden's quiet perch only wants to keep him company. Miraculously, he found his journal, writing his thoughts in the light of the moon, and the dim lamps he passed in his travels through London cars. He couldn't tell if he was lost or just avoiding being in there with all those sleeping people. Voices caused Arden to hide. He wasn't sure of the time. He was not sure if he was allowed out right now. I'm telling you, I didn't do it, that baby voice shouted. It was right next to you. Do you expect me to believe it just got here all on its own? The voice of one of the workers questioned back. What were you doing near my seat anyhow? Are you checking all the passengers? Or does this place only check certain ones? He accused back. Arnold frowned from where he tucked himself away. He'd heard that name complain before, but he wasn't thinking much of it. In fact, he used that moment to stumble off into another car. Now all he wanted to do was get back to where he was meant to be. If passengers were getting in trouble, he didn't want to give anyone a reason to check up on him. He couldn't afford the interrogation. The low rumble of the train turned down the track was the only sound filling the silence once again. Byrne had gotten lost, going from whatever car was unlocked. He debated on just staying put until it was time for his departure, but he couldn't stop worrying about looking suspicious. Byrne gently ran his fingers against the cool wall of the train. It almost looked like a polished cabin in some areas. It was amazing something like this could move the way it did. He couldn't decide if he felt more eerie from the low orange lights or comfort. But either way, he didn't have time to enjoy the ride. He was still desperately trying to get back to his seat. Placing his hand on another door, he gently slid it open with a quiet shift. Byrne gasped almost angrily as he entered the place cautiously. Couldn't make out the exact color of the floor. He noticed the plush seats in the room, all pointed towards the stunning windows down each row. Moonlight glittered through each of those windows, dancing on the fabric of the seats in front of them, the occasional shadow covering sights as the train constantly pushed forward. Artie remembered a room being described like this in his pamphlet. A human room, he thought cautiously, his eyes widened before he fished in his pocket for it. As much as he wished for Josiah to give him more, as it stood, he was receiving nothing. But he couldn't risk getting in more trouble wandering around like this. In a sudden moment, Artie's blood ran cold. His body seemed to tense. His legs felt terrified. Had his head down, reaching around for his pamphlet, but a heavy pressure clasped on his shoulder, causing his stance to falter. Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 18. Arnie slowly gazed upwards. The man towered over him. His face looked pale in the hints of moonlight. His expression was almost unreadable. He seemed to have bags under his eyes. Arnie's vision briefly focused on what was on his shoulder, finding the man's heavy hand still gripping onto him. The man spoke, a deep, smooth voice falling from his lips, like a word he didn't know. Arnie's teeth gritted. He wanted to look for a way out. He couldn't rip his gaze away from the person before him. Had no idea if he just ran into a perfectly fine stranger, or if he should be worried for himself. Excuse me? Arnold pushed the question out of his tightening throat. The man drove his hand off of him, his robe sleeve swaying with the movement. Forgive me. Can you learn me way of the water's location? The man spoke carefully, his words dragging with him. Arnold's heartbeat seemed to slowly regulate as he moved back, creating distance between them. It was torture never knowing if he was in a normal interaction or not. He took a shot in the dark, but assumed this was someone traveling from another country. Are you looking for water? Arnold questioned, his voice hushed. Man answered. Arnold carefully opened his pamphlet, searching his map for the cafe, while the man steadily eyed him. The cafe isn't too far from here, Arnold explained, showing the map to him. Thank you. The man nodded. Arnold barely turned to leave before he was once again grabbed. Are you alone? The man questioned. It was a bit strange. The situation was uncomfortable, but maybe this was just a lonely traveler. I'm just trying to make it home, Arnold told him. The man nodded. Yes, I'm very far away from my home. The man expressed angrily, but easing down to his seat, looking at Arnold expectantly. Arnold slowly came closer, gently getting into his seat beside him, gazing outside those windows. Hearing the trains that made its movements, it almost made him feel calm. Byrne couldn't shake the eeriness that trickled the back of his neck. Your body, you look hurt. You've been harmed all alone. The man questioned, gesturing at Arnold's faded bruises, his face creasing in concern. I got into some trouble, but it's my own fault, Arnold answered, sigh. He knew it wasn't a common thing to see someone beaten up. He got sick of having to give out lies about it. Every question about himself was just another stinking reminder. You deserve this. I looked back at the man, averting his eyes briefly. Listen, a lot more, Arnold responded. He knew what he was trying to do, but he couldn't get anything confirmed until he did. He was still guilty. There are two paths now. You can continue to do wrong knowingly and be punished every time. Or lay out your mistake and be taught the right path. An arm was put around Arden's shoulders as those comforting words were spoken to him. Arden stared off those windows, balled his lips for a moment, before finally letting out a breath and speaking. I appreciate the offer, but I don't think a simple nudge will get me off the road I'm on, Arden contended. He'd already gotten other people involved, disrupted things. He wanted someone to cling to, but this person wasn't it. It would be wrong to spew his burdens out. Arden stood up, starting his walk down the path past the windows again. It's late. Have a nice night, Arden muttered. Spent way too long here as it was. Arden's wrist was grabbed. Tried to see the man was once again handling him. You've helped me a tortured soul. If you are ever grow weary with being lost, come find me. My name is Benyoka. Arden stared up while the man calmly spoke. One hand still clung to his wrist, while he raised his other over his heart. He still wore that sullen expression. It was almost vacant, staring through him. Arden slipped his wrist out the loosening grip. He slowly licked his dry lips, staring back at Benyoka. He vaguely understood when he explained he was in first class. The train's noises and his own blood pumping overtaking his ears, while his other senses were intent on getting out of there. In a foggy blur, Arden made it back to his seat. The seatmate was once again gone, but he paid it no mind. So many things had happened that night. Goosebumps still littered his arms. He'd be dissecting to see his words into nothing. That was a given at this point. But Benyoka was something he hadn't expected. He'd been so eager to find someone on his wavelength that could understand him. He wondered, had he met it and became a coward to confess? Or had he been right to leave? Could have been a test of some sort. Or maybe he just didn't want to get another well-intentioned person hurt. Either way, had to put it behind him and try to sleep. Soon, he'd have to see his family again. He had no clue what had changed with them since he'd been gone. He just hoped, whenever he saw their faces, he would have the guts to look them in the eyes. Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 19. Once that sick darkness had disrupted the inexperienced ear, that soon peacefully blended into the background of life, the trouble of the train and the vibrations it created became part of his brain lullaby. You know when you lay eyes on him. Those words were the first coherent ones he thought as he stared. He begged so much for Dizzy to speak to him, now that he had, found himself just as apprehensive as before. There was a time when his fervent thoughts started to question if the voices cheering along had been wrong about stabbing Mary. Maybe his being there was just a tragic coincidence. Other times he questioned his own sanity, and what was real or fake about everything he'd gone through. Arden's brows were a little frown, yet he fought against opening his eyes to him. How could he even ask that? Jazzy was superior. They worked together, and he knew he must learn more than him. Just because it makes you uncomfortable doesn't mean it was the right thing to do, Arden reminded himself. He finally opened his eyes, bringing his surroundings back into view. Far beyond limits were a reason to these days. He couldn't sleep through the night, yet his body drinking him to wake up early. Sometimes he listened, other times he was too fatigued to drag his body along with his mind. He'd been in and out of time zones he was used to. Everything seemed to hang on by a free excitement. Weary eyes scanned the room. Most people were still asleep. The outside was no indication that it was still late at night, and he was being graced by the early morning. Arna shuffled in his seat, wrapping himself with his coat. Inside here was much more cozy than it had been in one of the cars before. Even better than being in that unforgiving chill of the ever-changing season outdoors. So he truly couldn't complain. So he used to be an easy answer. The drink no longer for ease. Arna thought sullenly to himself as he once again shut his eyes. He knew the stop would still be in the AM, and he'd hate to get into any type of deep sleep and miss getting off the train as soon as he could. The quiet hum of the machine within the train mixed into the air. A faint sense of food cooking floated just over the interior's light smell of sandalwood. Anyone taking a vacation there would appreciate the comfort and elegance. There were people in the lesser cars, which was the surface of what they could have had. Slowly, Arnold's mind rolled into something a little different. He thought about lying down at home, surrounded by his family, his friend, those familiar to him. Even if he shouldn't, he couldn't help but think about how the simplicity of home might likely help him find the hours of sleep his body was missing. He thought of his mother's face, her smile, the warmth of his grandmother's hugs, her cheeky little comments. Right then, he even thought of his father. Remembered the feel of his hand rubbing him on the head, his apathetic expression that would somehow always offer him a smile. He missed it. He missed it all, especially his brother. Booming crash followed by deafening sound flashed at him, swept through the room. The wood paper slid up, sending him to a frozen panic. His understood the sound of hospitals moving to the train. Cold quickly being let in. In a matter of seconds, the speakers went on, opening everyone for safety measures. Some passengers began screaming. Others listened, half struck lips and bewildered faces. Arna's heart pounded. Awful whistle of the wind still hadn't gone away. His own cut out by the new sound crushing breaking metals. The train was coming to an emergency stop. He gripped his seat, trying to keep in place while his eyes darkened now. The gladness he felt quickly stripped away. Please remain calm, everyone. We've run into an unexpected accident. All eyes were on a worker who had rushed over, legs still slightly trembling as he tried to remain calm. He was immediately bombarded with questions from frightened passengers, wondering just what had happened, and most importantly, if they were all safe. Your safety is all of our top concern. I assure you, this is nothing but a small issue. We'll be back on track soon. He continued desperately trying to settle everyone. I can't keep them in those bedrooms. You're gonna need to help me. Another worker ran over, grabbing their associate. What are you guys hiding back there? Another customer questioned, strapping himself. More people began getting up, becoming more suspicious. Arnold winced. People were crying, panicking. Aggression had began flaring up. He had no clue what to do. What was the real issue here? Should he go to investigate too, or just stay put? He glanced from the customers to the workers, feeling a trickle of anxiety pouring into his body. Horrified screams sliced through the room, followed by frightened jabbering. The workers sure looked before racing off, while the passengers mumbled and became louder as they began rushing around the emergency parked train. Hey, these doors are locked. How are we meant to get off this thing? The passenger shouted. Are they trying to keep us locked in? Another fearfully questioned. They're just doing their jobs, everyone. Calm down. Another voice chimed in. Arnold slipped out of that room. He didn't know if or when they would be let off. He had the slightest clue what had even happened. Would the train malfunction or something? Most everyone was so secretive about it if it had. Maybe they're just being concerned for their reputation. Besides all that, Arnold thought it best to find his bags. He said to make a quick exit, figuring if everyone was panicking now, when they were allowed to leave, it would only get more hectic. As he stumbled through the cool cars, outside indoor noise seemed so much louder without the train moving. Arnold frowned but continued walking, hoping this wouldn't be another distraction. As he shifted through the place, he made it back to the familiar halls, but stopped cold when he heard eerie whispering. Did you see all that blood? What even happened here? Did they fall through? I mean, I've never seen something like this before. I thought it was too sturdy to break like this. The hushed conversation seemed to come from the viewing room. The door was still slightly ajar. Arnold couldn't help himself but pee. He'd just been there hours ago. Now, from what he could see, one of the windows had been broken out. There was still blood in the remaining jagged shards of the window's remnants. Even without the victim there, the scene looked eerie. Arden quickly and quietly rushed down the hall, away from the room, hearing faintly as the workers questioned each other what else could become of the situation. He was barely getting closer to the luggage room when he heard sirens blaring. It was a blur of movements. Arden had tucked his belongings away only moments before he heard doors being opened and people being rushed out. He quickly mixed back into the crowd, his stomach dropping as he saw the cops' cars that gathered around the still train. Further up the tracks, the sounds of an ambulance was still wailing. If anyone else has been harmed during this ride, please speak up. The first words spoken out to the patrons. They, along with the train staff, were made to line up, while 4 cops stood in front of them. Can we know just what the heck is even going on? The man questioned with frustrated panic. Others mumbling along with them, just as confused. From what we gathered, there's been a passenger who's... One of the cops struggled to explain. That's something that must be under investigation. We're unsure if he fell through one of these windows here, continued sourly. Hurt gasped in the crowd, seeing the shocked looks on all the civilians' faces. He could have been pushed. The man from the train steps looked up, causing people to stare at him. The conversation exploded. Arden heard people began to blame the train and its maintenance. Some suggested sabotage by the staff's members, or even one of the passengers themselves. Blame, panic, some fear for their own safety. Talks of how long they'd be all stuck here, exploding all around them. The situation only grew uglier. So many people in a frenzy. The cops trying to keep everyone together. The men taking who they needed for questioning. Arden swallowed about the growing lump in his throat, a flutter of panic rising in him. He had nothing to do with this situation. At least he hoped he didn't. What if he was found out for his previous crime? Would be labeled as a serial killer. Why not push all the blame on him? Already killed once before. Who's to say he wouldn't do it again? You cannot just throw accusations like that around. A loud and familiar shout got Arden's attention. The passenger he almost ran into and had heard plenty of times complaining, standing in front of a staff member who's pointing a finger in his face. You've been complaining about our upper class this whole trip. And what a surprise. Someone from first class was the victim in this. It was you, and you wanted to blame it on us. A nasty claim that people wound up even further. You would try to push your dirty work on an innocent hard worker. It's all you guys do, he shouted back. Back up. Don't come any closer, Cop commanded, getting between the pair. Do you really think we could have just fallen through any of these windows? I let my kids lean on them while we were sightseeing. A frantic mother rambled to another cop. Arden's head was pounding. There was so much going on. He had him questioning what happened. Just thinking of someone falling out of his train's window at the rate they were traveling, he shuddered inwardly, his brain trying to come up with the sounds that matched the bloody window he witnessed. Let's get these people out of here. Won't get anything done like this. Looks like the news crew's almost here too. One of the cops mumbled to his co-worker. Take in staff, the guy they've been fighting with. Either way, if he fell or was pushed, it was probably faulty windows. The other mumbled back. Could be looking at a class action lawsuit, the last muttered, before they began speaking to the public louder, announcing who was free to go and who would be going in for further investigation. What about our trip? We can't just be left here stranded, the customer spoke up. Where's our compensation? How can you ask about that at a time like this? Her voice chimed in. Oh, it's freezing out here, felt Winford tucking in close. Arden's ears fogged out as he stared off to where they'd been traveling from. The ambulance was there, lights flashing. He saw people rushing around their uniforms and the caution tape left by cops. He couldn't quite make out what they were saying to each other, but felt he couldn't rip his gaze away. He carefully lifted the man to a gurney, running him through the back open doors. People spoke over him as they moved. Arden began focusing on the body alone. Was he dead? Alive? There was no way of telling from here. He wasn't entirely sure how fast they'd been going, but at any amount of speed out of a window must have sent him down hard. Arden bit the inside of his cheek. His brain kept replaying how it must have looked, felt, seemed at all. They screamed for help as he fell. Was he able? His mind drifted to the drips of blood he saw, those jagged shards of glass. Nausea set in as he recalled the fresh sight. got that liquid iron not too long ago. Vacate the premises. If you've been displaced by this inconvenience, please take it up with the company for a refund. The megaphone grabbed Artie's attention. He snapped his gaze over, watching as people were complaining about collecting their luggage. Some started to call for rides, but others stopped to speak to the reporters, staying just beyond caution to eat. Artie tensed. He had so many unanswered questions and a knot in his stomach, but like always, it was time to move again. Only this time, as he was passing the crowd, the conversation almost froze him solid. Did you hear that guy's name? Fanyoka or whatever? That guy wasn't from here. Some traveler, I guess. This could end up being bigger than we thought if we weren't careful. Pop mumbled. Man, for our sake, I hope it was just a fault of the train's maintenance. Nothing else to look into. Even that might be something. The other cop groaned. Sit at my grave. Season 4. Sanity or Salvation. Chapter 20. The sun hadn't dared peek through the dark gray clouds clustered in the sky. The wind was picking up, reminding everyone winter would be on its way soon. Art had been reunited with his bags and escaped out of sight, leaving the scene of the accident, and behind him, people still in a shocked frenzy. By the time Art made any progress, he was bone tired. His shoes felt like they'd been merged into his feet. His arms were heavy, and the cold air was only fighting against him. His account was in the red, but he managed to get himself into more public transportation, bus, though he was physically and mentally tired. Getting on this one gave him a slight bit of relief. In the next few stops, he would be close enough to his neighborhood to walk home. The gray hue of his travels steadily seemed to gain color once again, as familiarity came back. The beeps and honks of a bustling city, the dialect he was used to, making people around him not feel so much like strangers. Hey, if you want to stand there and look stupid, do it somewhere else. Come on! Bus driver's harsh words got Martin out of his daze of looking around and taking in the city. This wasn't home exactly. These were the eras he'd last been at before leaving to a different country entirely. It was surreal. Truthfully, hadn't been that long, but after everything, it felt like an eternity. Things hadn't changed much for the city itself. The artful age way beyond his years. The bus was almost full. The day was winding down by then. Late evening setting in. Most people he assumed were going home after work or getting holiday preparations. A few throats cleared, side glances, but overall, this ride was quiet. People were talking to themselves on their phones. Some had the luxury of sitting, while many stood holding grab handles. Martin let out a gentle sigh. He didn't bother trying to find a seat and quickly grabbed a handle. It wasn't nearly as mouthy as his first ride had been. After that, he was grateful. He couldn't even imagine having to argue with someone right now. There was so much in his head, it felt like it might pop before any type of decompression could even happen. The bus groaned as it came to life. The driver glided to the streets, easy, despite the cracked and damaged asphalt. The shaking and jumps were noticed from the passengers shaking in the moments. It was a typical feeling, and most stayed without much complaint. Arnold found himself keeping his gaze out the smashed window, watching the ever-changing scenery. Only this time, familiarity of it was giving him a slight sense of belonging. The grip on his handle tightened as they hit another crack in the road, making him shake in place, his luggage shifting slightly. As he watched and waited, barely glancing at the people that went off before stops, his mind drifted back to the tragedy of the train. It was chilling knowing how close he'd been moments before the disaster. He'd spoken to his man, and hearing him be named as the victim before he left gave him a pit in his stomach. Arden couldn't help but be curious. He wondered first and foremost if he'd survived the fall. The other thing he questioned, what exactly had Fanyoka been offering him? Where had he even come from? He didn't say I. He said leave help. Does he have someone he's working with? Or is it something more? Arden questioned. There was really no use wondering. He didn't know if Fanyoka lived at all. But even if he had, the only means there was nothing he could have really done for him. It was just hard having so many jarring things he had to see and move on from. I feel like he should have sat there and really thought them over, understand and process it all. Yet, there was never any time. Light shined across Arnold's face on and off, stoplights to crosswalks. As the day was rapidly fading, people had gotten on and off. The bus came empty for a little while. Arn had eventually made his way to a seat, out the bus's riders and pinned out. Anticipation grew upon him as they neared his next stop. It would be the last before he was able to get off. Arn could feel his palms sweating despite the chilly weather. The grip on his pants fabric was the only thing he could do to show his excited anxiety. He should be getting his story straight. Surely his mother would have questions when he arrived. Maybe they wouldn't even embrace each other like he imagined. Arn bit inside his cheek as he thought about it. He had hope for the warmth of his loved ones, but he left everyone on bad terms. What if she moved on? What if really lumped him in with his father, just another person she loved and tried her best with, that in return screamed at her, and left her to deal with her own emotions afterwards? The bitter thought caused Arn to tense. He hoped everyone gave him a chance. Then again, his mindset had altered, but his mission had not. He would likely put them in the same position soon. Eventually, the bus went to a stop, getting Arn out of his thoughts. He always got stopped where he'd missed his destination. He was about to lower his shoulders again, tuck back into himself, since he still had a while to go. One of the people caught his eye. They stood out in the sea of muted colors and tried to leave the bus. Maybe it was strange. He noticed the way he stopped. Either way, I could see the colors were cracking hair. At least, I didn't fall to the slot of those people at sea. He noticed that hair. Shiny red, mesmerizing as a flame, stood out boldly against the otherwise big surroundings. One night caught a glimpse of eyes before the person was no longer facing him. They were light blue, almost crystal-like, twinkling in any bit of light that caught them. It was like nothing he'd ever seen before. The other passenger seemed to glance up a bit, taking notice of the tall person standing out amongst them. Even still, the bus went on like usual. The new patron was now holding the handle, standing, despite the seats available. Martin didn't stare. He looked away again. There's nothing to be that interested in. He needed to focus on getting home. Use his break there to start putting things together, or he would inevitably have to leave again. Martin quietly took his journal out, jotting down a few things while he waited for a stop, being lost in his past journeys with falling on paper. Time passed on. Martin barely paid attention to the arthritis and suffered his work. Finally, another horrible groan let him know the bus was once again coming to a stop. The doors forced themselves open. Brian glanced up, seeing that. His instincts were to quickly put his writings away and get up to leave, but he froze where he was sat. From where he was, that redhead caught his attention again. He watched as they swept their hair around, exposing themselves. Brian's eyes zeroed into the back of their neck. Marky, their cellars. Brian squinted his eyes to get a better look. His stomach seemed to plummet into ice. It didn't look exactly like his, but he'd seen it been around too much to chalk that off. It was a tattoo. It looked otherworldly. In his brain's rattlings, he lost sight of the image, the person attached to. They were gone the first night amongst the others rushing home. Their bright landmark covered by a dark hood. Arnie's body didn't catch up to the questions his brain was asking. He quickly flipped through the pages of his journal, scribbling as best as he could remember what that symbol looked like, writing a simple question mark next to it, followed by an even less distinguished, "What could this mean?" He was rattled once again when the bus driver started urging him to hurry. Arnie stood quickly, shuffling his belongings away, zipping them up tightly, before getting himself off the bus. Stark and cold, most people had already begun clearing out. As much as he looked, no longer saw them, just people fading off in the distance as they walked off. Arnie looked down at his feet as the bus pulled away. He shuddered inwardly. He passed his scuffed shoes to the cracked pavement on the sidewalk he stood on. The shudder made its way out, full of smoke fading into the night. He swallowed it down and walked on, adjusting his coat. Things were looking more and more familiar now. He didn't try to hide the light trembling his blanket in anticipation as he walked. He didn't know what he'd be walking into or what he'd be bringing back, but regardless, he was finally almost home. Sit at My Grave, Season 4. Sanity or Salvation. Chapter 21. The path there held so many memories, he could hardly move without thinking of another. Life before he traveled out of the country to an even simpler time. He'd just been a child, visiting his grandparents, unaware of any of life's true problems. Now, as he made his way into his small village, he seemed to forget how to knock. Arden forced his hand into a fist, hovering at the door, slowly huffing out his warm air into the cold night. Could he just show up like this? It was late. His mother and grandmother must be in bed by now. It seemed so nonchalant, so careless, showing up just as mysteriously as he had left. Arden carefully pressed his knuckle to the door, hardly enough power to make a sound. He sighed again, pressing his head against it. It shouldn't be this hard to come home. He made it that way, hadn't he? He'd been so confident leaving this place. Where was that strength now? He was terrified to get a bad reaction from his own family. Perhaps he'd always been this much of a coward. He just hid it better. He froze in a spot. Those knocks had been loud enough. The sound of them in such a quiet area proved to be eerie. He waited for a moment, got no answer. So he tried again and again. Suddenly, he couldn't stop. The anticipation of getting some type of closure of what kind of mess he left behind became too great. Arden jumped when the door opened abruptly. It was only as much as the latch allowed. Someone was peeking at him from behind it. Heard them beginning to speak. From the tone, it sounded like they'd been aggressive at first, but were cut off almost immediately. The door closed again before Arden had worked up his nerve to speed. He heard fumbling on the other side, quick and unfocused, hands trembling. Finally, the door was fully opened and a light shined on him. Arden? The voice of his grandmother in his ears took a physical form inside of him. Is that you? She asked with shock. She approached him, grabbing him, warm, gentle hands against his cold face. Arden was forced to look at her, watching as she lit up, staring back at him. He'd seen that look many times. It was the same one he'd seen as a child when Riley brought him and Rita over for surprise visits. What are you doing? Oh my goodness, you're freezing! Get in here! Brenna hardly seemed to believe he was really there. What strong armed him in the house anyways. Arden just about held his breath as he was pulled in. The door shut behind him, locking that dull world back outside. It was dark in there besides Verna's little light, but the memory of where everything should be flooded Arden as he gazed at the place. Few things had changed from what he could tell so far. There was a certain comfort when he laid eyes on the couch he used to call his bed. You made it home. Safe and sound. Look at you. You're so grown up. Verna exclaimed in a whisper. What's the matter? I had to speak while you were out there? She teased, hugging him. It's been a long way home. Arden muttered, slaying excuse. He released the handles of his luggage, hugging Verna back. He couldn't tell exactly if she'd gotten smaller, but he'd grown that much. His main focus was how it felt to find holes on him and be held back. He found a strength to keep himself from shaking. After all he'd gone through, all he'd done, he could have never thought he'd make it back. He'd be able to hug his grandmother like this. The warmth hadn't faded. She had no idea of the lessons he learned out there, but still was ready to accept him into her arms, despite how he worried her and smothered before. I don't have to keep holding your mother together anymore. She was so upset with herself when you left. Worried sick something happened to you. Verna's words spilled out. She slowly separated from Arden, keeping his hands in hers. She had to slightly look up at him now. Arden felt the pang of guilt and stayed silent. I always try and keep myself positive, and I prayed for your safety. But there were moments Verna faltered. She let go of one of Arden's hands, covered her mouth for a moment, giving herself time to breathe. It's good to see you, sweetie. It really is, she told him after collecting herself. It's good to see you, too, Arden whispered back. Well, looks like you proved me and your mom wrong, huh? I don't know what you've been up to this old world, but If you made it back, you're definitely a fighter, Fred said, winking at him with an airy chuckle. Arnold smirked back lightly before hanging his head down. Let's not wake your mother just yet. Go sleep in my room for tonight. You can surprise her in the morning, Fred instructed. Arnold had been anticipating that couch since he got let in. While that sounded nice after so much travel. He felt bad. Thought me and his grandma was on the couch. He'd been home for a few minutes and was already putting someone else out in favor of himself. That's okay. The couch is fine. I tried arguing with her. I won't hear it, sweetie. You might have one out there, but you can't win against your granny. Now come on. These old tough bones can take it. Verna told him, patting him along. Arnold nodded his head. Good night, Grandma. Arnold mumbled as he went up to the room. Good night, sweetie. He heard her behind him. I love you, and welcome home. Those last words made him tense. He threw his hand up, trying to shake the feeling back into his legs, refusing to turn around as he walked himself and his luggage to his grandmother's bedroom. Finally alone, he let out a sigh. Would it help? He wasn't sure. There was relief that followed. Arnold eyed the bed. It was plush, dressed up in sheets and a comforter with floral pattern. He hadn't spent much time in his grandparents' bedroom. Inside someone might think his home was perfume. It used to be such a common set while he had been navigating grief from her divorce. Now once again giving reassurance as he navigated these new hurdles. It's as good a time as any, Arnold thought bitterly. He turned on the low lamp, creating a gentle yellow light in the otherwise dark room. He carefully popped the lock on his luggage, opened the cases, slowly dug out his clothes. They were wrinkled, stuffed in, moved about carelessly. A far cry at how neatly he started his journey. Arnold laid his belongings out across the floor, kneeling there as he did so. The first few layers looked perfectly normal, innocent even. Arnold thought as he pulled his plush giraffe out, laying him down on his weapon. His scuffed hands rubbed against the soft material. He found himself staring at the big smile stitched across that thing. He drew his hands off it, bracing himself as he continued navigating through the other belongings. Finally, he touched it, felt the body shut and ripped through him, heard his own saliva being pushed through his tight throat as he went further. The only physical evidence of what he'd done, aside from his knife, were merely inches from his guilty hands. Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 22. With steadying hands, Arnold gripped into the first garment, dragging it out, taking the others out one by one. Even in the dim light, he could see the old blood stains, dry and brown by now, yet the memory was fresh. No matter how long he tried to hide them, here they were, giving him the same feeling as they had the night he stayed up. Arnold shakily rose to his feet and went to the bathroom, laying the clothes in the tub, careful of the noise he made. He uncapped bleach and poured it over them. He remembered it got stains out, couldn't recall who bothered to teach him. He tucked the bottle back in its place, closing the curtains before returning back to the bedroom. Arnold changed out of his current clothes before lying on the bed. There'd be so much to face with the parties upcoming. So many other pressing matters he struggled to understand. For now, exhaustion claimed him. All the thoughts swarming in his head seemed to mingle into one, till all went silent. Oh, would you quit fussing? The place looks fine. Lily's face scrunched into a frown as she adjusted the tablecloth and the plastic centerpiece. Her mother watching her from behind. Emily's already in town. She's staying at a hotel until the party. I asked her to stay here. I don't understand why she won't, Riley complained. Honey, it's got to be hard for her even being here. And who knows, maybe she decided to see her own family for the holidays. I might help her to be with them before Reed's birthday, Vern told her gently. I understand, it's just... Riley paused. She shifted, seating herself at the table. It's been so empty. I like the house to be full again, she answered, fiddling with her hands. Oh, Vern responded softly. She walked over and placed a comforting hand on Lily's shoulder. I know, but we'll be here, and who knows who else might show up. Before we know it, the McKinneys will be here too. I spoke to her. I smiled a little at her comforting words, but kept her head down. Pruna tried hiding her grin, watching her daughter. She leaned down, placing a kiss to her forehead. I can almost guarantee things will be looking up soon, Pruna told her. Millie scoffed gently. She appreciated the help. She was slowly making peace with everything. But this event was a painful reminder of how wrong her life had gone, and by extension, her children's lives. Things had gotten more settled than they had been months ago. There was still that lingering guilt she hadn't had to experience before. I got some ingredients in case you wanted to make a cake for tomorrow, Mother suggested. Really tensed. Memories of Reed making her cake over the years flooded in. It was such a sweet gesture, a memory that had never left her aching heart. She was the mother, meant to be making her child's day special. It always seemed her son had been the one picking up the slack. Regardless of her trying to take up the reins now, he still wouldn't be here to try her baking this year. Even so, in honor of him, she couldn't see herself just buying one. He had to fail many times before his trials, and so would she. Yeah, I think I'll get started. I have a while to go if I want to make it perfect, Millie said, standing up. Doesn't have to be perfect, dear, Pruna reminded her. It's for him, Millie replied. It was in her voice. Pruna nodded in understanding. I'm sure he'll appreciate whatever you come up with, Pruna spoke tenderly. Millie smiled. She took in a deep breath and let it out. Well, let's get to baking. Eggs go on cakes, right? Millie questioned. She began searching for ingredients. Right away? You haven't had breakfast yet, Pruna said, helping her gather things for the cake. I had coffee already. I've been more than able to handle a busy morning without breakfast right away. Millie joked lightly. There's a time in her younger life where breakfast had been a warm beer and head pills. In the last months, she chose on coffee and a quick meal when she could get it. She had to learn more responsibility than she had in years. Pruna was kind enough to wipe her tears and things got really tough, but she refused to coddle her. Opening her home after everything had been more than enough. She was keeping a steady job now, and even hoping to find a better career eventually, something she never thought she'd want or be able to achieve. Well, you keep on working with that never-ending energy. I'll make us breakfast, Pruna announced, patting her back before getting started. Millie smiled, thankful for her mother's stubbornness. The two peacefully worked in the kitchen together, Millie asking Pruna for tips as she mixed together a batter, while Pruna let Millie taste test a few things as she cooked, subtly making enough for three. He's the one, some friendly whispers went on repeat, grunts of agony following it. Behind the sound came a low growl, slowly finding its strength. Arden stood, pulling over the confused face. He heard the words spoken to him through the figure below, an assessment of being shock, disgust, though still undetermined. He felt the sensation as he plunged his knife into the air. Almost like something. There was an overwhelming sense in him. Relief that he was getting somewhere. And fear he would never get back to where and who he was. Only this time, as the scene played from again, he suddenly felt a sense of danger for himself. He stopped his knife pierced through his flesh as he strode through the forest floor. Arden's own eyes peered around, drank up every inch of the forest he could find from where he stood. Nowhere seemed safe. He was the one with the weapon. In the blink of an eye, his wrist was grabbed so hard almost yanked him forward. Arden quickly looked downward, the shock on his face melting into terror. Its hollow, beaming eyes snatched him in, his legs too terrified to move. With one look, memories flooded into him. Down the street, under the road light, across from him when he let his guard down, thinking he'd been alone with a friend. That thing, that monster, was back. Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 23. Arden's stuttering lips locked little puffs of his jittering fear. Using his will, he finally pried them open to scream, but the sound was all out to leave his throat. As soon as his voice started to buckle up, his neck was grabbed as the thing launched towards him. Its force knocked him to the ground. He traded places. Arden fell so hard, his head went back, cracking against the unforgiving dirt. He forced his eyes back over regardless of the throb and ache, would only get worse if he didn't get up. Garbled voice bellowed over Arden's body, its cold fingers deeping into his neck, putting his air up. Arden struggled, his eyes darting his panic to his core. He desperately tried to breathe. He moved from where he was pinned, but it was no use. He was getting weaker, so he fought to close his eyes, despite the tears welling up in them. His slender, prickly hands creeped up Arden's body, where he held tight to the cruelty before him, still stained with the blood of a life he returned. The creature's other hand was intent on choking him out, but seemed eager for the weapon uncle to. Finally, as his strength was flaking out, Arden tried for a last time to free himself. He kicked as hard as his body would let him. It served to get that thing's grip out of his neck. His Arden coughed and gasped. His body still vibrating in fear. The thing jumping him again. His head was everything go completely black. Arden couldn't make out the last garbled words that thing screeched at him. But when he opened his eyes, he quickly jumped up, almost knocking himself over again in the process. His shirt was wet with sweat, and his heart hadn't stopped racing. He couldn't understand where he was. The only kept his panic going until he finally deduced he was still in his grandmother's bedroom. Arden felt his chest, slowly sinking back to the floor as he steadied himself. He realized the pain still in his head, the eerie feeling of being touched, still ghosting over his body. His palms had little marks where his own nails had been digging into them while he was holding onto his knife. When he thought about it now, he should have thrown it. That thing seemed to want that knife. When the heat of the moment, Arden struck it instead. The act of defiance could have gotten him killed. Arden carefully held his own neck, placing that lingering foreign touch with his own hands. He could feel welts starting to rise. That it wasn't possible, right? That thing hadn't actually managed to harm him, had it? Arden let himself go down from a sitting position, laying back flat on the floor, the coolness of it pinching right into his heated skin. Kurotu Kafari, his prized possession, the thing he left his country for, his family. Only physical evidence he had to legitimize his journey. It was a big symbol of his progress, hope that he had a chance to bring his brother home. Arden now stared at his empty hand, flexing his fingers. That beast was too reoccurring to just be a nightmare. He knew he didn't have everything under control. He had one thin path he was desperately trying to follow, even with his own doubts and fears of failure. As those calls felt closer and closer, he was starting to wonder, would he be bringing his brother back? Or joining them? Sit at My Grave, Season 4, Sanity or Salvation, Chapter 24. 3 plates? No one's here for the party yet. Really, that should finally sat down to eat, putting another batch of test cupcakes into the oven. Did I place 3? Where's my mind? Fern replied, keeping a smirk off her face. Mom? Ellie questioned, tilting her head. What do you know? She asked, pointing an accusing fork at her. More than you, that's for sure. Fern teased back, barely holding back her chortle, seeing the dumbstruck look on her daughter's face. Verna opened her mouth to speak again, but noticed the shift in Riley's expression. Gone was the humorous shock. Its replacement was a pure look of bewilderment. Eyes huge, jaw slack. Her movements became a shaky type of rigid, once she finally gained control of her body. Verna didn't have to turn her head to know. She removed herself from her seat regardless, giving them some room, and herself a spot to view it. harsh inhale interrupted the silence. Millie had managed to stand to her feet. Her stare was unwavering, while her parallel couldn't find the power to look up. His shoulders were slumped, hands fidgeting in his pockets, gaze forced to the floor's chipped tiling. The smile on Verna's face slowly faded, her features reflecting intensity that began to grow. She wanted to blurt out something, anything, give them an avenue to fix things, but it wasn't her space. Brinley had sabotaged plenty in her life from a young age. Harsh lessons of the recent years now demanded more of her, just to stay afloat. And by the look of her grandson when he'd arrived, as well as his body's tone in this moment, it looked like the world had taught him to. It was up to them to handle it now. Telling them how just wasn't what they needed. In their time, when Lee and Arden's eyes met, it was a painful jolt, yet neither dared to move. Riley's vision of her youngest child blurred. Arden's gaze was softened, the quickness of a blink. Vulnerability showed. Thoughts of the past tumbled out. At his brother's funeral, he couldn't help but wonder, watching her sob and fall apart. Did Billy have that much love for him? It was fleeting, but after learning more of the Atlas history, it was a very real fear. After all, Reed had earned his spot in her heart, and if she cared for him, Arden knew leaving like that must have broken it. The approach to Engulf made him stumble on his feet. His shaky fingers were in his hair, petting him like he was gentle silk, not a second away from ripping. His senses were overwhelmed, the fears for his home life, for things beyond his understanding. He paused for a while. Despite his growth, he was a child in his mother's arms. He rushed out softly. Warm tears were snuggled into Arden, a strong embrace for a weakened woman. Arden held her back. In moments, it almost felt like he was holding her up completely, as her voice crumbled. She wept gently, her own fears and relief releasing into that hold. Arden watched from afar, but eventually made her way out, after offering Arden a reassuring look. Arden felt his Finley's sobs start to quiet down, eventually reducing into sniffs and deep breathing. She calmed herself. They finally were apart, but Lily didn't take her eyes off of him. Her lashes wet and her face reddened. Mom. Arden's first words. You're safe. Oh my God, you're safe. Lay's voice came out pathetically, wiping her face, or softly putting her hands on his arm. The question was gone, but the guilt was a harsh scraping to his dwindling ego. Sorry for leaving, sorry for not listening, sorry for making things harder than they had to be, sorry for causing this, sorry for ripping the person, keeping it all together away. Most of all, sorry it wasn't over. The words weren't easy, the action following it would be far from impactful. Someday, maybe he'd actually sit and really make things right, but not now. His "I'm sorry" lingered in the air as he allowed them to be connected for at least a moment. Both agreeing, regardless of how they expressed it, was a gentle joy finally having pieces of their family together again. Arden didn't expect this warmth after coming out of his grandma's room. He had a hard time believing it was real, even while he embraced his mother again. This didn't erase what happened up there. His neck was still sore. His life was very possibly in danger. And by extension, so was his family. If that monster existed in his reality, it'd take him away into its own. Much as he had mentioned, there was a certain time where the world of the living and the spirit's veil was very thin. It helped with their communication greatly before he got in this mark. Months ago, that was an exciting thing to learn. He'd always been intrigued with how to communicate with things beyond him. Now, wondered with enthusiasm what could be watching. What else had access to his or anyone else's flesh?